Perna, my good sir. So last Monday, as we were relaxing, saying this is going to be the real dead zone.
I was like, should we take Monday off? Or I was like, should we just take this whole week off? And you were like, yes, I have a lot of masturbating to catch up on. And I was like, you don't need to tell me that, Tom, but you definitely said that to me. So I was happy.
Do you have the text? Can you pull up the text?
No, I have my text delete automatically.
Are you hiding something? Are you on a signal chat?
Trail. No paper trails for me.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it.
So that's, Dolphins. I'm finding Dolphins fans justifying this trade to be very funny. And I'm not saying like I don't think the Dolphins season's going to go well regardless. But I do like people saying this was a money dump. What don't you understand about that?
So the way that entire Monday morning unfolded was pretty wild because we just got piecemealed. I think they know it's the off season too. And they're like, we just need another reason to tweet out another breaking update here. So the first one was that Jaylen Ramsey, who has been rumored to be traded now for a while, gets traded to the Steelers, right? That's the first part. And we're kind of waiting to hear about the compensation and what that's going to look like. And let's talk about the Jaylen Ramsey part first. So Jaylen Ramsey going to the Steelers. The Dolphins were looking to move him. The Dolphins recently paid him a whole lot of money and gave him an extra contract. He is getting older. And on top of that, the Steelers gave him a bit of a pay bump as well. Yeah. So all of that, the Steelers, they addressed their secondary a little bit more, which they needed to do, right? That was kind of a weak point of their defense last year. So they go after and get another corner. So we like that. The issue that I have with this is the issue that I had when the Dolphins paid Jaylen Ramsey all that money, because I was like, you are he's still good, but elite for that kind of money. Maybe I'm just not there. So I feel like for the Dolphins, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to see what the compensation is. And the Steelers are doing their version of all in. It just seems like it's with players that may have been their best a few years ago. But yeah, what did you think about the Ramsey to Steelers? Just that part.
I think I would have really liked it for the Steelers if they kept Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Okay, yeah, there we
go. You're bringing in Jaylen to be, I don't want to call him your number one corner, but he's corner 1A or 1B, depending on, how the secondary shakes out this season with Porter. Miami had to move on from Jaylen because he didn't want to be there. I understand that. They've regretted basically everybody that they've paid. I understand that. But Jaylen coming over would have made that secondary really interesting with Minkah Fitzpatrick back there. Now, there are some Steelers fans who are like, Minkah's falling off. He sucks now. And that's usually what fans tell themselves when a guy they actually like is leaving. I've done it several times. I don't disagree with you guys. But I think Minkah is more effective if your corner play up front is solid. They still have to work out their deal with TJ Watt, and that's a team that if TJ Watt's on the field, I think your secondary is better just based on his ability to get pressure. But with Minkah going over to Miami and then Jonnu Smith coming over to the Steelers, it kind of just felt like a wash. The Steelers got better, a little bit better. The Dolphins probably got a little bit worse because even if Minkah Fitzpatrick, let's say he's better than Steelers fans want to give him credit for, he plays safety, he's not going to have the same impact on the Dolphins secondary as Jaylen Ramsey would. And then it got really weird when the Dolphins, they traded Jonnu Smith to the Steelers. And I think that's an underrated move for Pittsburgh. I thought Jonnu had a really nice season in Miami last year. And then it was like, oh, but the Dolphins are in play for another tight end. And all the names kept floating, like Michael Mayer from the Raiders.
Time out.
Mark Andrews.
Okay, hold on.
Let's Darren Waller to come out of retirement.
Let's unravel a little bit, right? Because I agree. So I thought for the Dolphins, I was like, listen, you're moving on from Jaylen Ramsey. It's like you said, this wasn't going to work out. They've been trying to trade him for a while. Okay, it is what it is. That was fine. And then when Minkah Fitzpatrick goes back to the Miami Dolphins, because Brian Flores can't hurt him anymore, He goes back to the Dolphins, and Dolphins fans are like, oh, I love this. Like, welcome back, Minka, right? And he's a great player. And while I know exactly what you're talking about, some Steelers fans are like, oh, okay, he wasn't fully there. Minka Fitzpatrick is still a good football player. And so I think, that's going to help out. But then it was the Jonnu Smith move, which, again, had been rumored. Arthur Smith loves Jonnu Smith. And so they got another pass catcher, which was a concern after George Pickens left. And so now it's like, okay, now things are looking. But Steelers fans were also like, damn, we could have Minka Fitzpatrick and Jaylen Ramsey in the same secondary. Obviously, one safety, one corner. But that would have been pretty great. But yes, the best part was that neither fan base seemed to be over the moon happy because Dolphins were like, oh, so, okay, what tight end do we have now? And Steelers like, all right, yeah, we lost Minka, but at least we got somebody who could help on the offense. And that was my favorite part. With news came out directly after that going, the Dolphins are looking to make a blockbuster trade. A blockbuster, an acquisition where they're going to go get another tight end, right? And exactly what you said. Mark Andrews, his name was floated around. Kyle Pitts, maybe the Dolphins and Tua can really unlock Kyle Pitts in that offense. And then it was Darren Waller.
You got Darren Waller, who's 3 years older than Jonnu Smith. Jonnu, it felt like they clicked. He clicked with that offense last year. And now for Aaron Rodgers, I think Jonnu Smith is a really nice addition because they gave up, they gave up George Pickens, right? So it's DK. Now you add Jonnu, you got Freiermuth. Not like, again, it's not you're not like, oh, this is gonna be the most electric offense we've seen. But the Steelers are better off with Jonnu.
Sure.
And I'm rooting for Darren Waller. I think it's cool he's coming out of retirement. And he said he would come out of retirement for the Dolphins OC on Gruden's show. Frank Smith, he said, there's only two coaches I would come out of retirement for, and he was on John Gruden's show on Barstool. He said it would be for you to play for you or to play for Frank Smith. And John Gruden's like, you're not going to go play for the Dolphins. And he was wrong.
Yeah, he was right. The Dolphins fan. So that's a good question because that came floating around. Like I thought he retired. What the hell? But because he was on the Giants, because that was his last stop, they still had the rights to his contract. Yeah. So if he wants to unretire, that's why there was an actual trade that occurred. Yes. Right, in which like the Giants get like a potential 6th or 7th, I forget what it was.
Doesn't matter.
But regardless, that's how they got Darren Waller. So basically, if you were like with the Buccaneers, for example, right, like since Brady retired, I don't know how much time was left on it. Whatever, he retired, and then it's like sometimes the teams hold on to the rights if there was still going to be a contract, but if they come back, then they get traded. Call it a day. It was a 6th. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. I thought it was a 6th. So yeah. Did he only retire because he was stuck on the Giants? Well, Possibly. It probably didn't help.
Possibly.
It didn't help. So, yeah.
I think Darren Waller is like was one of Derek Carr's all-time leading receivers for the Raiders.
Yeah. And like that's the thing, dude. Darren Waller, like back in the day, the biggest thing was always his health. Right. It's like because he suffered some injuries and while he was productive at times, like over the years, just less and less production.
Yeah, injuries he had 2,000-yard seasons with Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And the Raiders. He didn't play at all last year. He's 6'6". So it would have been nice for Russell Wilson because he would have been able to see him in the receiving game. So I think he would have put up. Ooh. Does Waller put up better numbers with Tua or would he have put up better numbers with Russell Wilson?
I think it's Tua. I mean, I think it just because of how they would utilize him. But
all receiver, Russ going to get you the ball.
Maybe. But yeah.
Russ just sees a little helmet above his offensive line and he throws dots deep.
I'm curious. I want your take on both teams. Where does this, if at all, move the needle for both the Steelers and the Dolphins for this upcoming season?
All right, here's my needle for the Steelers.
Yep.
Perfectly straight up and down, which means 9-8, right? As average as you can be.
Okay.
Could be a little more than average.
Okay.
That's, assuming Aaron Rodgers is going to play all right. For the Dolphins, they were already below average. And now, it's hard to bend your elbow that way.
You got it. I believe in you.
They go right here.
Okay.
They're looking like they could be bad.
So not moving the needle a ton for you.
It's moving it down. It is. Yeah. That needle went from strong, straight to very flaccid.
I feel like for me, the Steelers, I don't know. The Steelers confuse me, man. Like, it seems like, first of all, it's very unusual for the Steelers because they are usually a very quiet off-season team. Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, for fans, they're like, what the hell is going on? But they've made some pretty big moves. The moves that they've made, though, seem like temporary fixes. And it's like, hey, like, this is an attempt to go all in on this one season, which would make sense because Aaron Rodgers is likely only going to be playing one more season, right? Or at least so he says. And I went to a barbecue on Saturday, and people were they're like, so, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Do you think he's actually going to retire? And I was like, the only way that I see him staying is if they make like a deep playoff run. Yeah. Right. If they win a wild card game and then they suffer a defeat, like in a super close in the divisional round, or if they go the AFC championship game and suffer, then I could see, all right, we'll strap it on one more time and we'll go out and play. I feel like that is unlikely to happen. Like, they would need a lot to go right. And it just seems like a lot of the moves, and Omar Khan, I saw that he got extended too. And I like what he's doing. It just seems like this is hey, let's go all in on one season. And the potential for it to not work is really, really high. And you're at the same exact place where you were the following season. Like, if you win, again, if they wind up being 9-8 or win 10 games and lose in the wild card round, they're literally in the same spot, but now still without a quarterback. And it's just, I don't know. It's a tough thing to navigate.
My expectation was for the Steelers to get into the playoffs and lose in the first game, the wild card.
Yeah.
Now I feel like the expectation is to get into the playoffs and lose the wild card game by 3 points or less.
Okay.
That's what it does for me.
Yeah.
It gives them a better shot to almost win that first playoff game.